listeners, Harika here, and I'm super excited to welcome you to Upptalk. If you're ready to learn and get your hands work wonders in the world of information technology, then you're in the right place. When I say Upptalk, we are not just another edtech company. Consider we are your learning partner committed to unlocking your full potential. Whether you're stepping into the world of technology for the first time or looking to advance your career, we provide top-tier, hands-on courses to build up your career. Let's take our first step towards learning here and explore it.
We are going to actually learn the concept of data modeling today. We are starting a new topic altogether and we'll continue with this and then again circle back to our raw data. If you see here, you know these are very simple sample data set. I have taken small data that it's easier to understand. A very simple sample data set out in here. And let's start with the very beginning syllable here. I have just remembered the way we have got the mapping file. I entered the data. I entered this data and created this file that we are able to, understand the concept. The idea is to understand the concept here. There are two tables rationally out here. And you see here, being in Power BI desktop, you can also enter data set. You see, I'm hovering on that, creating a new table by typing or pasting in a new content. Exactly the same way that you do it in Power Query. I've done the same thing. I have created two tables. One is department, the other one is employee. The common thing about these two tables are that it's having the same employee, ID. And if you see, both. The table has exactly the same number of rows and same number of employee, ID. One is talking about a department, the other one is giving the first rationally. That's one thing. This table, where the IDs are unique. You see the IDs don't repeat. Whatever table is there, and if a table and the IDs are unique, those are called dimension tables. For us, the department table and the employee table are dimension tables. And the third concept is that if the employees are not repeating. Since both the tables are dimensions and the employee ID is not repeating, they are the primary key. These are all the primary key. Now we'll understand more about this by building relation. We'll have to actually go to data model to draw a relationship between employee ID and department. Let's do that real quick. If you see, this is the data model platform. We click on the model view on your left. Once you click on there, you get to this page. It actually shows the entire relationship, all tables. If you see on the below there are pages, all tables. But I have simplified it by creating new pages. If you see towards the end of this bottom layer, you can add page. Just the way you add it in Power BI desktop in the report section, you can add page and you can draw a diagram. You can draw a diagram and what's happening here is, I've actually created this relation. Do you see there's a one-to-one relation? Now I was talking about the one-to-one card in it. Let me just delete this and let me show you how you can construct a relationship from the scratch. You have employee ID here in the name table and the department team. All I'm going to today is drag this relationship, drop it here. Either way, it's going to give me the same result. If I pick the employee ID from the department table and drag it here, it's going to give me the same result. And that result is called one-to-one. If you see even Power BI, I recognizes the IDs. It arrives the point you know the duplicates or not. If it's one attached to a data tell simply means the ID that you're using has no duplicate. In a similar fashion over here in the department table, the ID that we're using, employee ID, has no duplicate. And that's the reason when we're building a relationship, it's a one-to-one relation. Now, this one more thing that you see here is the flow of information. Do you see the way this information is flowing? There are arrows both the way. What it simply means is that this data table, employee name dimension, can control department table. And even the employee department table can control or drill down the data from employee. Now you can. How does it get determined? If you actually double click here in this line is drawn. Let's double click on this line. You'll see a tabular representation of the same relationship. Let's look at this. Tabular relationship. Exactly the same thing, but drawn over a table. What is it showing? It shows the table on the top, which is department table, and the table on the bottom, employee table. It also shows the table that is connected, the column that is connected to both, the table that connects both, the table which is employee ID. And it also talks about the relationship. The cardinality that is there. Basically, cardinality means relationship. The cardinality that both the tables are sharing is one-to-one. And look at the cross filter direction. Cross filter direction means the flow of information, how the data gets drilled down. Both the table can drill down. It's a one-to-one relationship, and this is the cardinality set to both. Now, this is a default cardinality. You cannot change it. But if you want, you can actually keep it single. But if you see the filter direction you selected isn't value, it simply means that by default, a one-to-one relationship, the cross filter direction is always both. What's the impact of this flow of information? The cross filter direction. Let's look at this. Now that we have built a relation, look at the way the information will flow. If I click on this table here, right in the department, you'll see the employee table drilled down. Let's uncheck the selection and let's say I try to pick something else from the employee table. The department table will drill down. Both the table communicates with each other. Now the second for the cool things that's happening here. We have combined both the tables. The combined one-to-one relationship from both the tables. These are simple data table. Alright, basically, if you look at the visual, the visualization is this one. This data table. Don't get worked out. How the tables will create is just in the report. View or visualization has been used now. Look at this combined one-to-one relationship with the department. Department employee ID. Now 1, 2, 3. Department employee. Now this employee ID is coming from the department table. I renamed this to department employee ID. The first name and the last name are coming from the employee table. What the employee names has to. And again, the department table is coming from department. Column is coming from the department. The employee comes from the department table. First name, last name comes from the employee table and department again comes from the department table. That's a good part. And imagine now everything coexists and you don't even have to merge the queries. Merging the queries creates additional steps. But with the power of data modeling, just draw the relation and directly build the visualization. And on the top of this, you can also write text which will be entering very soon, maybe tomorrow and day. In tomorrow's or day after tomorrow's session. But that's the department employee, ID first name and last name. In a similar fashion, I've combined the other end, the employee ID from the employee table, first name, last name from the employee table, and department coming from the department table. You get exactly the same result because these are one-to-one relation. Right? Now look at the magic this data please. This is a one-to-one relationship, both direction, both way, cross filter direction. I click on anything. Everything rolls down. Click on any table, everything will go down. Do you see? Everything runs down because everything is linked and interlinked. What do we see here, guys? Properties of dimension table. Both the tables are the department table and employee table are dimension tables. They have unique records. Employee ID club, both the table are unique. IDs are not repeating and does not have duplicate. And that's the reason, since IDs don't repeat and don't have duplicate. They hold the primary key, which is the employee ID in both the tables. Both the tables have primary key and they are the employee IDs. Alright, let's look at the next one. Let's look at this next few tables. Now I'm in the second tab. And you already know these two tables something that we introduced in the previous step. Department table and employee table. Now I want to introduce a new table here. This is a fact table, a diversity table. Look at the table. Here we have an employee ID and it has duplicate values. That's the number one thing that we see. And it talks fact. It means it simply is giving more details about the employee ID. Here, the first employee can speak English in Tamil and the second employee can speak in Hindi. The third employee speaks English in French. And there's a fourth employee that we are bringing in, which is he or she speaks English. But the problem with this is that we do not have the data for the fourth employee. Let's see how the table reacts in the presence of the data that is not around. And what we are going to do is we are going to build and extend our relationship to diversity. Let's go back to the data table. And if you see here from employee name to department, I have drawn a relation. And from department to diversity, I'm going to draw another relation. Let's look at this relation. Let me delete this relationship for a moment. And let me drag this employee ID from here too. Now, the first thing that you see here is, unlike the previous relationship where we had one-to-one over here, look at the flow of the info. Look at the flow of the info. A one-to-many relationship. Over here, you see an asterisk here attached to next to diversity. We're building a relationship on employee ID. The asterisk simply means that this have duplicate records. And over here, the employee ID has unique records. This is my primary key. This is my fact table. And this is having the foreign key. A fact table has foreign key. Dimension table has primary key. Primary keys are unique. It won't repeat. Adversity. In the employee ID has duplicate values. That's the reason for foreign key. And the relationship that we are getting out of these two is one-to-many. Now, if you see here the cardinality, it says many-to-one. It's actually one and the same. You say one-to-many or many-to-one, it actually functions exactly the same. There's no problem with that. Many-to-one or one-to-many. Alright? You can even change this to one-to-many without any hassle. If you want, you can simply keep the department on the top, department table on the top, diversity on the bottom. And now you'll see that this is a one-to-many relation. The interesting thing to notice about here is that by default you get a single cross filter direction. It means only the department table or a dimension table will control the fact. It means on your dimension table will control the fact table and will drill down. If you click one, it drills on all the possibility. But you can also set it to both. Which means if you set it to both, even diversity table can control the department. You can see its live impact. You can see its live impact. If I keep it single. If I now, this is an interesting fact. What have you built? A relationship for department to diversity, right? Look at the department. I'm going to click on department table, and for a moment, let me just make this employee table disappear. I can actually make a table disappear. If you see here, I click on view, I click on selection. I can select a table that I don't want to. I have the employee table dimension right. I did, and it goes off. And bring it back in a moment, but just to have a better clarity, just keeping the department and diversity, the relationship that I have built. Click on department. And you see diversity drills tone gives both the language that this person speaks in similar fashion. Written 3 rows for employee. And similarly. Now, if you try to click on here, nothing drillstone, in the department APC, select nothing drillstone. Nothing. Right. I go back to the model view, and if you not turn on the cross filter direction to both save this. Look at this now. This one is anyways drilling business as usual. But if you click on employee to from the diversity table, you'll see even a department table. But remember, I just had a table here. Now this table, if you look at the holistic approach, look at this proposal. Employee table is linked to department, not to diversity. But what I'm saying over here is that even the employee table is indirectly linked to diversity. Because of the relation, data model is really a powerful concept. Your employee name is also linked to diversity. What does that mean? That if you take something from the employee table as, let's say I drill down something from the employee table. Let's say I pick this first employee. You'll see the department table is drilling down as well as the fact table. Diverse, right. Similar. Cross-filter selection to both the relationships of diversity is impacting department, and it will also impact the employee table because employee table is hooked to department table. If I pick something from the diversity, both the table drills. Now, if I look more into this I'm actually combining everything with everything. I'm combining the employee ID, first name of the last employee from the employee table, first name, last name from the department employee table again. Department from the department table and language spoken from the diversity factor. Do you see the way this is duplicating the rules? It is now in fact talking or giving out more facts. One employee, the target Ronam department is a, and you know it's giving two rules because she speaks to language. Similarly, the other folks out here. But there is one strange thing that has come up here is that the fourth employee has no records, and that's simply because the fourth employee has no records in the department employee table. And that's the reason we are getting a blank value. But do we really get a blank value? I mean, we don't get any return. But let's see if you're covering anything. It's actually that we are covering a blank. If you see the employee ID, if I remove the blank, you will see there is an additional row out in here. Which is on the top. Someone speaks English since the employee ID is coming from the employee table. First name, last name is coming from the department employee table and department is coming from the department. And these dimensions table have no records for the fourth employee. That's the reason it's showing just the language but no results for this because it has no records. As simple as that. And what I have done is I have hidden that. I simply click on employee ID and I say in the filter, do not show me any blank values. Hope that makes sense. Alright, now let's move on. We have understood this concept out in here. Let's move on to the next best concept, which is called many-to-many cardinality. What are we talking when we are talking about many-to-many cardinality? Now you already know the table that we are seeing here. The diversity this table is something that we have already seen in the previous slide. I'm introducing one more fact that talks about the employee IDs and it talks about their skills. Power App Power PSQL Employee 1. Employee 2 has Spotify paginated report. Power App Power Automate Power P wonderful lot of skill. Employee 3 has paginated report. Employee 2 has Power BI and Spotify. Employee 3 has paginated report Power App, Power Automate and Power BI. And Employee 4. There is a row that I've created and I just mentioned as no skill. Maybe he's a fresher, which is no problem. No harm to have no skills. And we are going to build a many-to-many relation. Let's go to the data here and let's build this many-to-many relation. Now many-to-many relationship doesn't mean such a. You see, we are actually picking up two fact tables. The fact tables have employee IDs and these employee IDs are foreign keys. And when two foreign keys are shared in relation with each other, it ends up into many-to-many. You see, there are asterisks here and there are asterisks here. And if you look into this relation, let me just delete this relation. And let me just build this relation for once. On employee ID from skill set to the first. This is one way of building a relation. Now let me show you one more way of building a relationship in Power BI, which is this one. Manage relationship on the top. It's a tabular way of building the same diagram. If you click on New, and let's say I keep skill set on the top and diversity on the bottom. And link this employee here and this here. This is the tabular way of creating the relationship over there. You were dragging and dropping the relation. That was the diagram view. This is the tabular view. What do we exactly get here? Let's look at the details of a many-to-many relation in cardinality. Of course, you know it has duplicate values and these both are hooked to each other by employee ID skill set and diversity. Cardinality is many-to-many. And if you look here, we have a cross filter direction that is set to both by default. It is set to both. But you can also set to a different mode altogether. We have other modes in here, like if you want only the diversity to control the skill set, or if you want only the skill set to filter out diversity. You can even set it that way, but I would like to keep it both. That's more effective and much easier to pick up on many-to-many relation. Now look at this. Note there's a note that you get here. Look at this note that you get when you're building on a relationship. The relationship has cardinality many-to-many. This should only be used if it is expected that neither column employee ID from the skill set and the employee ID from diversity contains unique values, which is true. And that significantly different behavior of many-to-many relationship is understood. Power BI gives a disclaimer that only if you understand the concept of many-to-many relationship, please go ahead and use it, else do not. Otherwise, it will end up into confusion. But we would like to be confused, and I would like to make this relationship active. And I would like to click on. And you see, we have established a relation. What is the impact of this relation? If I click Power App from Employee ID 1, it is going to show me all the results from the diversity team. Even if I click the second row, I get 2 rows from the diversity team. Similarly, if I click on third row, I still continue getting the employer. Now let's drill down and shrink this data. I'm going to actually go to filter. And I'm going to shrink the employee. Now I'm actually taking this employee from the skill set team filter on this page and just want to shrink on employee ID 1. That we know. I'll be able to explain this better and we'll have a further smaller portion to understand many-to-many relationship. Now, if you see many-to-many relationship now from skill set, I'm taking the employee from the skill set. Skill sets come from, and if you look at the language, you see that it repeats the set of language that that particular employee speaks twice. Employee ID 1 has a skill set, Power App. And he speaks 2 languages in English and Tamil, and that's repeated. Similarly, it gets repeated in the Power BI segment as well. It's actually taking a set and repeating itself. Right? If you look at this, it's creating a set and it's the repeating itself. Similarly, if you see here from diversity table employee, from diversity language, focus and skills. Over here also, it's repeating itself just like the other records. Here the person has 3 skill set. One thing that you will see common is that the table returns the same number of rows. We have 6 rows being written. If you see for a particular employee, the number of rows that it's possibly going to return is 3 into 2 sets. It does not mandatorily say that if I remove the filter. Let's clear the filter here. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And over here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It does not mean 10 into 8. It will return 80 rows. If you look now, it may return less at all. It's trickier the way this returns. It will not be always 80 rows. Probably you know how much row it can return is dependent on the number of values that are available. Employee 1 has 3 into 2, 6. Employee 2 has 2 rows in here skills and 3 rows in here. Again 2 into 3, 6 or 6 plus 6, 12 rows. And then over here the employee third has 3 or 4 skill sets and he speaks 2 languages, English and French. 4 into 2, 8. 8 plus 12, 20. And the fourth employee has no skills. It returns only 1 row, no skills over here in English, and that particular employee speaks English. It will return only 1 row. It will return only 21 rows. In case If you are catching up on an interview in Power BI and you're given data set like this and you're asked how many number of rows it will return, this is the way you calculate in mind and say that, hey, you know it is going to return only 21 rows, not 80 rows. That's the skill set and the diversity. Let's go a step ahead. What I'm going to do is, I'm not going to delete this relation. I'm rather going to go to the properties of this relation, the table review, and you see there is an option over here to keep a relationship. If you look at here, I am simply clicking to make this relation active. If I uncheck this button right, this relationship will stay, but it will not function. It will simply deactivate the relation. And that's what I'm going to do here. For a moment, I'm going to hit. Now there's a difference. There are several ways of deactivating a relationship. You delete it. It completely is off. Or you come over here, double click on the line and come to this dialog box and just simply uncheck here. Or there is also a way you can activate and deactivate a relationship by directly clicking on the manage. You see skill set versus diversity, right? Deactivate. Now you can actually come over here and activate the relationship in a single click. That's also possible. But what I'm planning to do is not. Once you deactivate a relationship, this bold line gets started. And if you see here, the last tab that I have many to many relation or many to many cardinality. But in the presence of a dimension table, what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce an employee ID as a dimension table. If you look here, I am introducing an employee ID. As a dimension table. Nothing much. But I'm just introducing a dimension table which talks about employee ID and it's a unique record, but nothing else. You know, it has just the unique record. Employee ID 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to hook this table to both these tables. In here, if I go to the data model and put this last tab, I have this dimension table out in here that is already hooked to, is already hooked to skill set and diversity. It's a one-to-many relationship, obviously, because this dimension table employee ID has unique records and it's going to a skill set. One-to-many and one-to-many over here as well as diversity. Now, let's just activate these relationships. Now, this time I'm going to activate the relationship by going to manage. Dimension table is there. Dimension table to diversity and dimension table to. Let's activate these two. Close this. You see now a bold line appears. What happens in the presence of a dimension table is very beautiful to see if you click here. You see nothing changes on the diversity. If I click here and the diversity, nothing changes on the skill set because both the tables are no more directly linked to each other. You see the relationship is deactivated. It's not the skill set and diversity is no more directly related, but they are indirectly related to a diverse to each other by this dimension table. Skill set and diversity are two fact tables linked to each other indirectly through this dimension table. If I go just a little down, look at this dimension table with skill set. This employee is coming from a dimension table. If you look here for more clarity, go to the visualization. See, the employee is coming from the dimension table. Skill set is coming from the skill set. Dimension table. Employee is coming from the dimension table. Skill is coming from the skills, and in similar fashion, the dimension table with diversity, here also the employee is coming from the dimension table. The language spoken is coming from diversity. Now, what I was telling is that these are indirectly related to each other. The skill set and diversity are indirectly linked to each other through this dimension table, through the presence of dimension table. It means that if I pick something from here, it will exactly show similar results as we just saw in the previous exercise. It's just drilling down the data. But then the question comes here. Can we just not coexist the relation with each other? Can't we not build all the table together? Let's imagine. I have this employee ID and language spoken in here, right? This employee is coming from the dimension table language spoken. And what if I try to bring something from the skills? Let's say I have the skill set, and let's say I'm trying to bring the skill set. You'll see it will result in an error. And if you see the details, you'll simply see that can't display the relation because power B, I can't determine the relationship between two or more fields. And that's very simple and expected because there is no direct relationship between skill set and diversity. That's the many-to-many relationship. Let's summarize everything that we just saw. We have the many-to-many cardinality. It has multiple fact tables. Does not have a unique record. These are not repeating. Both the tables have foreign keys. There are no primary keys in a many-to-many relationship. And if we combine the two tables, it will give us all the possible combination of all the keys. That's the employee. That's the data model. That's what we're talking about. Talking about this relationship, right, and how it's working. Let's look at all the transformation that we did here. 29 to 20, 21, 22. We can actually ignore this append query. We can ignore this mapping file. What is this table? Look at the IDs over here. Let's say our ID over. Here is the store location. The store location is the ID, and if you see, this is a dimension table. A classic example of dimension table because now the values in the store location are repeating against store location. We have the state location. State location can go duplicate. Maybe there are two cities following the same state. We have store location and state location. It is a dimension table. Now let's look at the other transformation that we did. The sales data group by is again a dimension. If you are considering store location as the ID, this is a dimension table. Unique records. What else? We have the pivot table. That's also a dimension table. We have all the dimension table. Now let's look at a fact table, which is the sales data. Now look at the store location here, and it's repeating multiple times, and that's the reason I'm calling it a fact table. But there is a catch here. The sales data has something called index. Do you see? And if you look at the index from an index perspective, it has unique records. Please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel. For more information, contact us sales@uptalk.com.